Hi guys, welcome back to another Fang video. If you're just joining us, my name is Eli Fang, and this is the second part of the Cortes' conquest of Mexico, or New Spain. Cortes and the Tlaxcala, if you recall, Cortes' new allies, marches to Tenochtitlan, and after many ambassadors had talked with one another, they finally meet the Emperor Moctezuma. The Spanish got an old palace to stay in where mountains of gold had been placed there. Something like 140,000 pounds. Take that with a pinch of salt, but there was a lot of gold. The Spanish grow restless as they realize they are surrounded by thousands of Aztec warriors and a 250,000 people. The Spanish try to put a Christian cross upon the main temple, which is like putting a 50-foot statue of Shiva on the place where the Pope lives. Now the army is really seeing how small they are. So instead of fighting a big battle, they capture Moctezuma. Because he is lightly guarded, they take him to the old palace and make him say he's a vassal of the King of Spain at that time, Charles I or Charles V, as he's known to most of us. Cortes has to leave because the governor of Cuba, Velasquez, if you recall from the other video, is trying to arrest him. Cortes moves out with 400 men and thousands of Tlaxcalas to defeat the Spanish who are trying to arrest him. The rest of the army stays in the capital. Cortes ambushes the Spanish who are trying to arrest him, and won, as he had the help of the Tlaxcalans. Cortes gives another passionate speech to the rest of the Spaniards, telling them about the gold of the Aztecs. This convinces them to join, and Cortes triples the numbers of the Spanish in his army. However, things are going badly in the capital. So when Cortes left, he left Pedro de Alvarado in charge, which was the biggest mistake. Alvarado was ruthless. He killed hundreds of unarmed civilians because he was angry at a display of cannibalism at a festival. This is an outrage to the people of Tenochtitlan, who begin to riot. The Spanish made Moctezuma go up, calm down his people. They stone him instead. The Spanish bring him inside where he dies of his wounds. I should probably talk about the city of Tenochtitlan itself, because it is not the city you would find today. It was like Venice, but with more people and huge pyramids. All the islands were in the middle of the Lake Texcoco. But anyway, back to the story. After he died, they threw the body of Moctezuma into the lake. The Spanish fought the mob for a few more days. Cortes had been let inside the mob so they could kill him as well. But the Spanish observed that the natives do not fight at night, so the Spanish tried to escape. The Spanish, under the cover of darkness, escaped Tenochtitlan. Now the city is in the middle of the lake. However, the natives had destroyed the bridges out of the capital. To deal with this, the Spanish put planks of wood across the broken parts of the bridge. Then they pick up these planks of wood and put it on the next broken part. As they did this, warboats fired arrows at them. It was a slaughter. They lost most of the gold. But most of the Spanish managed to escape and regrouped at Tlaxcala. You would think Cortes has been beaten, but the Tlaxcala, inadvisably, gave the Spanish more troops to the Spanish. So the Spanish also had the support of thousands of rebels against the Aztecs. Also, more soldiers were coming from Cuba. Velasquez thought that he was sending supplies to the men of the expedition that was meant to capture Cortes, under like someone de Alvaradas or someone like that, who would later lead an expedition to Florida. After some fighting with the city still loyal to the Aztec Empire, the Spanish besieged the capital. But Cortes had another ally that could kill 8 to 10% of the indigenous population. And it did. It was smallpox. Farmers lay dead in their fields, and combat-ready men that the Aztecs would need died in droves. The new emperor himself died and was replaced by the last emperor, Tlaxcalmac. So next, the Spanish took Texcoco, one of the cities of the Triple Alliance that built the Aztec Empire. The city of Texcoco was on the Lake Texcoco, a perfect place to start building some ships. Cortes had the idea to lay siege to Tenochtitlan. The allies first took the water supply in the lower part of Itzalpalaiba. Again, I'll put that up because that is all. The lower part of Tenochtitlan, close to the mainland. While 13 small ships Cortes had assembled on the lake fought thousands of Aztec warboats. During this early part of the siege, on the small causeways, warboats on the lake and soldiers on the causeways beat back repeated attacks by the Spaniards. So Cortes fixed this by putting his better ships on the bridge flanks of the attack. So the Aztecs, to prevent them from using this, planted stakes in the ground that were tall enough to stop the Spanish ships. But after a large battle, the Spanish ships destroyed the Aztec war canoes, giving Cortes control over the lake, making the problem of war canoes no longer a problem. But here is where the Spanish made a fatal mistake. They thought that a single push would finish the Aztecs off. But once inside the city, they were surrounded. 65 Spanish were captured and sacrificed on full display of their more fortunate counterparts. Many of the natives deserted, and this was the second low point in Cortes' conquest, but he was not dismayed. Then he captured many smaller parts of Tenochtitlan. This persistence showed many of of the native allies that Cortes would achieve victory, and many more came back than before. Using a new tactic, he destroyed every house he captured, so his enemies could not encircle him as they had done earlier. With this new strategy, Cortes reached the temple, and just like that, the 93-day siege of Tenochtitlan was over. Cortes would expand his new domain into Central America, but after overstepping his power, he was brought back to Spain. But his legacy would live on, until now, in countries like Mexico, Guatemala, and Honduras. Cortes and the other conquistadors burned the huge temples and large monuments in the city, and built churches on its ruins. This is a metaphor for the whole empire. Temples and other monuments were destroyed, and churches built on their ruins. But the city of Tenochtitlan lives on. Lake Texcoco would be drained by the Spanish, and on that land, the Spanish would build a new city, the city of the Mexicas, which the Aztecs called themselves, Mexico City. Spain would use Mexico to become very rich, so much so that they destroyed their economy, so that it would lead Spain on a path to lose their empire, but their influence would stay. So thank you all for watching. There's a more detailed history of the Spanish Empire in the description if you want to know more. Don't comment negatively, and yeah, have a nice day.